forgot my glasses. Hey folks, Nick Geek is here once again, doing this whole AMA thing. I said I would, and you guys asked some questions, so I owe y'all some answers. Let's get right into it, shall we?
Allow me to put on my glasses here for a moment. Yeah, that'll do.
Senpai on TikTok asks, do you voice act as a job? And if you do, who did you voice act and which was your favorite? Yes, I do voice act professionally, and when I want to make money, I work for another company. But other than that, yes, I do want to turn voice acting into a full-time thing. It's why I moved down to Dallas, Texas to pursue the thing and get a nice career in voice acting. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm really happy to be doing it for you guys as well. As for who I voice acted and which was my favorite, I mean, I voice acted a number of characters and did a number of like commercial gigs and some small video game projects, tiny bit of animation other than the stuff I crap out. I think right now my favorite gig would have to be anyone I get to scream very loudly in. Like, I've been shot, stabbed, set on fire. Every time I've had an opportunity to just scream my lungs out has always been a blast. But right now, I mean, other than that, one of my favorite gigs right now is I voice act as the security guards in the upcoming Operation Black Mesa and Guard Duty games. Those are being made by Tripmine Studios. We are remaking the expansions to Half-Life, which we're remaking Half-Life Blue Shift and Half-Life Opposing Force, and they're going to be very, very good. Check them out on YouTube, Tripmine Studios. Tavarish Robkik on the YouTubes asks, thank you for making us all laugh. Your videos are hilarious. Shut up, baby, I know it. Question, what got you into the Warhammer, and do you have any armies? Well, I got into Warhammer, like really into it, just about a year ago. I was on vacation with a few friends, and they had brought a bunch of their codexes, all their minis and stuff. Like they brought stuff for 40k, 30k, and even Battlefleet Gothic. And I picked up an Imperial Guard codex. I think it was a 5th edition codex, and I started reading. I'm gonna post the picture, and I just started reading it, and I was just fascinated looking at all the variants of the Lehman Russ tanks, and just that's when things just clicked for me. And on that same vacation, I was like, you know what, I'll give this tabletop thing a try. I mean, I've heard of the video games and stuff, but I never really had a true interest in Warhammer. I had a passing like knowledge of it, like I knew what a Space Marine was, I had heard of the Tau, and then eventually one of my friends there decided to have a 300 or 500, like really small point game, I think like a 500 point game with me, and he played Death Guard, and I borrowed some Imperial Guard minis from my other friends there, and he gave me an introductory game, and I have been hooked on to this giant money sink of a hobby since. And I love 40k, I love the lore. Like, from there on, I looked into some more video games I could play, like I picked up Space Marine, really like it. I started listening to the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast and also watching Bricky's other introductory videos on 40k lore and the factions and all that stuff. They're all really, really good primers if you're looking to get into 40k as well and you just stumbled on this video. So yeah, that's basically how I got started. As for if I have any armies, yes, I very proudly play Imperial Guard. Love those little guys just because they remind me of like I always loved sci-fi grunts like the Marines in Halo, the Colonial Marines from the Aliens franchise, the mobile infantry from Starship Troopers. I just love the idea of regular dudes taking on the horrors of outer space and beyond. More Trexible on YouTube asks, what's your usual process for making videos if you have one? It always starts with the writing process. Like, I might get an idea for a joke at some point as I'm going about my day or whatever, and I make sure to, every time I come up with a joke of some kind and I think it's funny enough, I always write it down on my phone, write it down. After the writing process is complete, that is when I go into my audio editing program, which is Reaper. I use it all the time. I love it. It's free, by the way, so if you guys are voice actors and you're using Audacity, nah. Use Reaper. It is professional grade, it's non-destructive, and it's free, and it kicks butt. You should really use it. So I open up Reaper, then I come into my booth here, and then I just do some recording. After the recording is finished, I edit them down to about what I want them to sound like. I add some effects to the voices, whatever, to
make the orc sound more orky, I just lower the pitch some.
And
to make the Chaos Marines sound bigger and more menacing, I also tone down the pitch and add some other filters and whatnot.
Once that is done, once I have the takes I want and everything is more or less edited the way I want to and maybe sprinkle some sound effects in, that is when I open up Adobe Photoshop to edit the pictures of the minis, the backgrounds, and whatever other stuff I want to use. Then I take all those pictures and bring them into Vegas Pro, or Sony Vegas as it used to be called, and that is my primary video editor. I love it to death. I've been using it for many years. It's my go-to. And then I just throw the video together. I add the subtitles and the movement, the heavy quote unquote animation, and out comes a video. That's pretty much it. It's straightforward-ish. Zenko on TikTok asks, "What color are your toes?" They're white like the rest of me. Artur Kim on YouTube asks, "Can you do Skaven voice?" I'm not really into Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar stuff, but I've heard the Skaven a couple times, so I've hardly practiced it. So I'm just gonna give this to you. I'm just gonna give this to you wild.
Filthy man thing! Not your warpstone! My warpstone! Our warpstone! Yes! Give to me!
Asura the Mad Berserker on YouTube asks, "Which is your favorite Loyalist Legion? Which is your favorite Traitor Legion?" I would say right off the bat, my favorite Loyalist Legion would be the Salamanders, only because they're such sweet, good boys. Love you, Vulcan. You're just a big sweetheart, big old teddy bear. Love him. Just as long as you're not an Eldar child, you'll be fine around him. Flamethrowers are cool, setting stuff on fire. Always awesome. As for my favorite Traitor Legion, I would have to say it's Death Guard, because Nurgle's probably my favorite of the 4 Chaos Gods, because he's all death, rot, plague, decay, just really gross stuff. And so, like, as a result, I think their minis are super cool. And again, my first tabletop battle was against a good friend who played Death Guard, and so I got fond memories of that too. But Death Guard, just because they're so gross, I think they're my favorite Traitor Legion. User 5444637311033 on TikTok says, "Great content, mate, but Matt Berry wants his voice back." I wish I had Matt Berry's voice. My good friend Chaosic Voices on YouTube asks a lot of questions. When will you get Alphabusa to do a cameo? Do Angron and Korn only play bingo together, or do they also do a sport? Do you write all your material yourself? Do you voice act in anything else? What are we working on next? So let's start with the first one. When will I get Alphabusa to do a cameo? Oh my god, at some point I really, really, really want to do a big video. When I say big, I mean like bringing on a lot of other Warhammer content creators. Like, I'm just throwing out names here, like the guys from Adeptus Ridiculous, Alphabusa, Dreadanon, Chaosic Voices, Major Kill, Lorehammer, whatever. I just want to get like a ton of these content creators together to make one video, and just like little bitty voice clips from them. That's all I want, and I really want to bring that out as a love letter to Warhammer 40k. So as for when, we'll see. The question about Angron and Korn only playing bingo together, or do they also do a sport? They do Tai Chi together on Fridays. It really helps Angron with his anger issues. Do I write all my material myself? More or less, yes. I mean, if we're being honest, like, I guess writing, everything is inspired from something else in one way or another. Like, it might be something that was originally a silly inside joke between me and some friends, or just something I thought up of one day. And I won't claim to be like 100% original, but a fun thing about me is I try not to watch so many 40k meme content, if only because I don't want to feel tempted to steal from other content creators. I mean, there's such thing as doing homage to other people and obviously giving credit, which, for love of God, I do not want to steal from other people. I'm way too early in my career to be shot down so quickly. The majority of the content I write myself. It comes from the little piece of pudding I got in between my ears here. As for voice acting and anything else, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I voice act in a number of other projects, and I'm still pretty early in my voice acting career. But if you want to see a more or less complete list of my credits, go on over to my website at nickgeekisvo.com. I got my portfolio up there, and you can see all the stuff I was in. As for what you and I are working on next, Chaotic Voices, well, I'll let you know, baby. Ragefire 11 on YouTube has a lot of questions. How did you get the idea to get into voice acting? Well, I mean, I loved watching cartoons. I grew up playing video games, doing all that stuff when I was a kid and my teenage years and so on. I remember I had a number of people that say, "Hey, Nick, you should get into radio. Love your voice." I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you." I didn't take it super seriously. I just kind of mind my own business. But January of 2018 is when I got my first microphone. At the time, it was a Rode NT USB, just simple plug and play microphone. I went to castingcallclub.com and I just started looking for little fan projects, little tiny gigs I could do just to get some experience and have some fun with other content creators. And that's where it really kicked off for me. And over time, I started looking for some bigger projects. Like, I'm extremely thankful to the team at Tripmine Studios for allowing me to be in Operation Black Mesa and guard duty. Like, when those games come out, like it's going to be a absolutely huge deal, and I'm extremely thankful for them. As for how and when did I actually get into voice acting, I think I just answered that before I even read this question. But yeah, I just started looking around for other work on ModDB, IndieDB, wherever I could find it. The majority of it was unpaid, but I did it because I love doing it. And for those of you who are future voice actors, do it because you love doing it. Don't do it because you want to make some money. What was your first gig with voice acting? I guess really my first gig was like a couple of tiny roles in some Halo Reach machinimas, stuff like that. What do you recommend to aspiring voice actors? Well, I recommend a number of things. I mean, I could go on forever about this topic, but don't go into voice acting if you're doing it just for the money, because if I'm going to be honest, unless you get really huge gigs, voice acting does not really pay that much. It can pay you quite a bit if you're extremely lucky and are landing a lot of gigs or a handful of really good, big, lucrative gigs, and especially if you go union. But what I recommend to people is do it because you love doing it. Do it because you love acting. For me, it started with the voice. But like, I mean, I remember growing up, I was a really shy kid. But over time, thankfully, I started to grow out of my shell. I started doing theater in high school, and really, I started really enjoying any opportunity I could to make an ass out of myself. Public speaking, I excel at doing that. I have no problem with getting up in front of a crowd and talking or doing a little jig, whatever. But the point is, do it because you love acting. For me, it started with the voice because people told me I had a good voice, but like, you might have a great, very deep, smooth baritone voice, but if you can't act, it's not really going to get you very far. Because in one of my favorite podcasts by one of my favorite human beings on the planet, voice actor Rob Paulson, he would always say this: voice acting is little v, big A. And that cannot be overstated enough. Again, the voice is one thing. It's great if you have a good voice, but your acting chops are what matter. Take some classes or do some community theater, whatever you can. Or like I said, like, look for some little gigs online and just practice. Have fun. It's all about having fun and playing. That's what acting really comes down to, at least in my opinion. Learn acting and make sure you love it before you dive deep and spend a bunch of money like I did on this guy and some of my other equipment. How much time was it to build your little chamber of screams? Well, this took maybe a couple hours or so. This I made from privacy dividers. I have 4 set up. 2 of them I have the privacy tarps on, and I use the tarp to poke in my T-pins so that can hold these pieces of sound absorbing foam in place. And these other 2, I left the tarps off, but I put some very thick moving blankets over them. And up top, above for the ceiling, I also have another moving blanket to help trap the sound in and keep reverb from coming in. A little bit of reverb comes into here when I'm being very loud, but usually you can't really tell, especially if there's like sound effects and a music bed over my voiceover. So there are so many different ways to make sound booths. Like, just look it up and see which one works for you if you want to build one. Do you think there is a big need for voice actors? Well, absolutely. I mean, as long as content keeps coming out that require characters to be voiced or commercials on the radio or on the TV, video games, literally anything, yeah, voice actors are going to be here to stay. I mean, we've made great strides in voice synthesis and like with deep fake of people's faces, and we're kind of getting there with voices and stuff, but like it will get very advanced, but it will never, in my opinion, be one-to-one with a natural, organic, human speaking voice. Like I said, they'll get pretty good. Anyone who's trying to push out a quality product is going to opt for real-life voice actors. Have you read many books, or are you a lurker on the wiki and forums? I've not read any 40K books. I do have a copy of the Imperial Infantryman's Uplifting Primer, which is awesome. I've not read anything on the Black Library or stuff like that. As much as I'd like to, for me, it's like there's so many different places to start, and which topic do I want to dive in? But yeah, I've done a lot of diving on the wiki. I've watched a lot of lore videos. Bricky, thank you. We love you, boo-boo. Did a little bit of Reddit diving, but I'm not really I would never dare call myself a Redditor. I've done my fair share of lurking here and there, various areas, just to learn more about the grim, dark future. If you could join any faction in 40K, which one would it be? If I had the choice, I don't know, I maybe Tau, because I guess they're arguably the most benevolent out of anybody, but also I guess that they had that grimdark retcon where like it's not actually for the greater good, it's some mind control, whatever business. I don't truly know. Any other faction I could join? I mean, I don't know. If anything, maybe the Orcs, just because they're having a damn good time in a horrible, horrible, horrible time period. As long as they have something to fight, they are happy. Like, Orcs aren't really that evil. They're savage, but
they just want something to fight is all. They just love a good fight.
But if anything, I would probably just be stuck in the Imperial Guard. Love me lasgun, baby. Which one is your favorite? The two don't necessarily intertwine. Again, my favorite would have to be the Imperial Guard, because it's just regular folks fighting the good fight, good in 40K, fighting the good fight against the cosmic horrors of the universe. Love them. I actually have a pretty cool Imperial Guard shirt, but I'm not wearing it today. I'm repping Boomer Rock today. What do you think the ending of 40K will be, if there is one? Who wins? I don't know, maybe the Tyranids just devouring everything, or just chaos opening the rift over the entire galaxy. Just something bad. It's 40K. It's not 40K unless things are just downright bad. I like the idea of like some alternate universe stuff. Like it would never fit in the actual canon. I wouldn't want it to be official, but like I could stand to read like a cool alternate universe like fanfic or something of like humanity at some point coming to its senses and aligning with the Tau and the Eldar to unify and, have peace among their races, but also fight alongside each other, against Orcs, Tyranids, and chaos and all that stuff. It'd be cool. It'd be cool to have like a little bit of unity among some of the races, but I know it's something that will never happen, and frankly, I do not want to see it happen in 40K because there just really isn't a place for it, but just cool alternate universe thing is something I'd like to see. And this last question comes from my good friend Croc Holiday on TikTok. A famous actor of your choice has lost their ability to speak. You are now responsible for delivering all of their lines for future films. Who is it?
There is no one in this universe I'd love to do voice doubling for more than the great Matthew Berry. My love for Matt Berry stretches from here all the way to Arizona.
And that's just about all I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for participating in the AMA. I'd like to do one maybe every 2 months, depending where my popularity goes to from now until then, and the next months, whatever. Absolutely want to do this more for you guys. I had a lot of fun answering these questions, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks. It's a helicopter. They come and phone me. That's a bird. And a helicopter. What is with these helicopters? I'm starting to sweat in here. It's very hot. It's not just a chamber of screams, it's a chamber of stank. It's hot in here. Somebody turn on the fan. Dear Lord.